we are going to load those data so that you will see how we can actually load your data. And then at the end, you produce your map. Okay. So I'm going to share the environment now. That is QGIS environment. So I'll click and then I'll open my QGIS. All right, so this is QGIS, as we all know. So now, what are we supposed to do is to load those data. So first of all, you check your CRS, project property, and then put it on WGS. Okay, based on the fact that it's a downloaded data, we can just leave it as WGS. No need of putting it on the fly projection again. I'll click OK from here. All right. So now, if you remember, when you download something from internet, it's actually zip. They always zip those data. So I'll go and copy it. Okay. I'll go and copy that from my downloads. Let me share the downloads. Okay, these are the data that we download. You have the government building, government state boundaries, and then Niger healthcare facilities, right? Right, so I can just copy all of them, and then I'll paste it on that folder that we created yesterday. Copy it. All right, so I'll go to that location that is on my desktop, a GIS folder. Okay, GIS folder, and then I'll put it on. I can just create another folder inside this GIS folder, inside this shapefile, so that I can differentiate it from what we have yesterday. I can call it download. I can call it download. Okay. So I can now paste the data that we download here. All right, so now I'm going to unzip this particular data now. Unzip means this is zip folder. They call it zip folder, right? These are zip folder. So you are going to either you unwrap it or unzip them, okay? So if you want to unzip, for example, let's work on the state boundary first. That is Nigeria state boundary. I'll click on it, and then I'll right click, and then I'll click on extract here. All right. Then it will now extract the data inside. So you see now, we have inside this state boundary, we have these five files here. Okay, we have .cpg, we have .dbf, prug, .shapefile, .shp, and then .shx. Now, these are the reasons why I say that when you are doing a GIS data, you actually need to create a folder. For example, if I copy this, let's assume as I copy this data now, and then I paste it on my desktop. Now, if I unzip them, you discover that this whole 5 files now will just be on my desktop, right? Which it will just make your desktop to be filled up. And then at the same time, there are some data that it will miss. You will not even see some of them because the whole thing will just, confused there, you understand? So it's better you actually create a folder for any of the data that you are working on. All right, so now I have my shapefile here. So how would I bring my shapefile? So I'll go back to my QGIS. So let me share again. I'll go back to QGIS. All right, so now we are bringing in the data. Yesterday we create the data, right? When we go to layer, we click on create layer, okay? But this time around, we are not creating layer again, we are adding layers. So I'll click on add layer, and then this layer that we are adding is a vector layer, not a raster layer, right? Because it's a shapefile. So I'll click on vector layer. Okay, now, from here now, I can now browse, okay? I can browse to, that is the vector data set. I can click here to browse to where we save that or we paste that particular data, right? So it's either, if you look at this directory now, it's GIS folder, shapefile, and it's inside download. You remember I just created a folder called download inside the SHP. So I'll open the download, and then we have our grid Nigeria boundary, VC state, VACC state, right? So I'll click on the one with SHP, remember, okay? I'll say you must pick the one that is SHP, right? So I'll click on the one with SHP, and then I'll click open. Okay, so it loads the data, and then from here and I click add. Okay, it has added it, so I can click on close here. So you see, I have my grid 3 boundary, that is state boundary now. Now, I've already loaded it, but it's not showing. Okay, if you remember, I've told you that anytime you load a layer and it's not showing, you right click on that layer and click on zoom to layer. Okay, so you see, we have our Nigerian map here. This is a shapefile of Nigerian map. So now with this map, now you can be able to change the color, you can label it. If you remember, we did coloring, that's symbology. We do it labeling, right? So I can decide to label. If you have seen a lot of Nigerian map where you see something like this and then they label it, either from, you've seen them in the internet or in different offices, right? So you on your own now, you can actually produce this. Now, at the end of the day class, everybody's supposed to know how to produce a Nigerian map. The only thing we have not done how to export a map or how to compose a map yet, but at least if it is producing something on your screen like this and screenshot it, everybody's supposed to know how to do it. You can download your data yourself from anywhere, any of those sites that we talk about, and then produce it. So now, how will I label it? If you remembered, you double click on the layer, right? And then we have symbology here, which has to do with the coloring, right? So now I can click here if I want to change the color, and then I'll click on possibly this color, and then I click OK. So we have this, right? And then I'll go back again to the same environment, and then I'll click on label, and then I click on no label, and then I select single label so that I can be able to label it. Now, I'll leave it on state name because we want it to label the states, all the state for you. So I'll click OK. So you see, we have all the state here. Okay, so with this, possibly as if you have done how to produce a map now, how to compose a map now, you can just take this thing straight to your composer manager and then produce a map and export it as JPEG. So somebody asks you to produce a Nigerian map for him now, you can actually do that. Okay, with just this simple step, because there's nobody that, if it's all the map that you know that you produce, or the Nigerian map, single individual person cannot go and pick all this boundary by himself. Okay, so definitely you have to download some of this data. Okay, so you cannot say, Kai, I did not trust this data. Let me go and pick Nigeria boundary by myself. Let me go all the state or use satellite image and start digitizing all the boundaries yourself. You cannot, it's not possible. So you must use a data from somewhere, either from an organization. You not trust this particular organization, you can go to any organizations that you know that you trust their data, and they'll give you a shapefile of Nigeria map, and then you can use it to produce your map. Okay, so the same thing apply when you have maybe a particular project in one particular state, and then you want to produce a map for that state showing all your project. For example, now I can click here, that's click on the layer, and then I click on select. Okay, and let's assume I want to select Nasarawa state. I just click. So you see, it shows Nasarawa state. All right, now another thing again is that if you see, there are some map that you see that you see all the state has different color. They call it categorization. Please take note of all these things. It's just, all these things are not that they are actually something that you must do. No, But when you talk about aesthetic, do something beautiful or give a clear explanation of what you are doing, you need to do all those things. So there's something they call categorizations, whereby you can now categorize all these states into different colors. Okay, so instead of it having one color like this, now you can have different color for different states. All right, so how would I do that? The same symbology where you change the color. Now, instead of under this symbology, now instead of using this single symbol now, you click on these small arrows here and click on categorize. Okay, when you click on categorize, now it says values. What value do you want to categorize? I want to categorize it based on states. So I'll categorize based on state name, right? Then I'll come here now and then click on classified. Okay, so you see now as I clarify now, you see that it has different states. Now Abia, Adamawa is this color, Akwa Ibom is this color, Anambra is this color, you understand? So after that now, I can just click on apply and then click OK. So you see, you can have this. So you see that this one look more beautiful, you understand? So depend on the kind of map I want to produce. You can go through a lot of things about these things and do things by yourself, you understand? Because you cannot be able to cover everything that has to do with symbologies, you understand? There are a lot of things that you can still do to make your map or your visualization clear, you understand, and look more aesthetic, okay? So that is how you do coloring symbologies using your GIS data. We have been doing that even from those other data that we used before, okay? So now, we'll go back to the same environment again. And then we have, from here, you can decide, okay, this color that this person is putting from Borno State, or these classifications that you're putting from Borno State, you don't like the color, so you can click and then put the color you like yourself. Okay, you can select the color you want yourself from any of these environments. See, these are different colors. If you want blue, you can click here. All right. And then if you're okay with that, you can just click OK. And Borno has changed. So if I click on OK now, the color of Borno has changed to what you want. So if you don't want their own classifications, you can actually do your own yourself. Okay. So now, before we go to load another data, I wanted to show you something again. Let's assume you want your state. You know, based on this now, you know all the map that are together. As you are changing, everything is being changed, right? So let's assume you just want just one state, okay? Possibly you want FCT, or let's assume we want this Kwara state, okay? Let's assume we want this Kwara now. What you need to do, as I did the other time, I'll click on this layer, and then I click on select, and then I click on Kwara. It has highlighted the Kwara, right? Now what you do is that you want to save this Kwara so that it will be on its own instead of inside this whole map. So you can have a data for only Kwara states. Possibly you can even send it. Somebody asks you for a shapefile of Kwara state. Now you can actually send only the Kwara state shapefile for him instead of the whole state boundaries, all the state boundaries. So I want to create a boundary for only Kwara state now. So I select Kwara state, and then I click on this layer, I'll right click, and then you click on export. You see export here, you click on export, then you export save as, right? But now you are not using this save as because you want the Kwara that you select. So I will now use export save selected features as, okay? Because I want to save only the selected features. So I'll click on that. And then it take me, you see that save only selected features is highlighted here. Then I can now browse to where I will save it. File name, I'll browse to where I will save it, which it will take me to where we save our data under the GIS, and then I'll just type Kwara. Kwara. All right. So from there now, I can click save. And then if I come here now, I'll click OK from here. Okay, so as you can see, we have Kwara separately. So now if I click on this box here that is check here, I told you that anytime you click on this box, it's off, and then you on it. So if I off this Nigerian map now, it will now have only Kwara. So you see, you have only Kwara map here. and you can be able to bring any other data that you think you need for Kwara State inside this, so that when you are producing a map now, let's assume you have a project in Kwara State now, it's going to be showing only a boundary of Kwara State instead of showing the whole Nigeria. Okay, or there are some map that you see that, okay, Nigeria map showing Kwara State. So in that case now, you don't actually need to categorize, right? If you want to show only Kwara State now, as you say Kwara State as, you can now maintain only one color. So instead of categorization, you just use single color, right? Single symbols, and then you can use any of the color that you want. Okay, I can use any of the color that I want, and then I click OK. So you see, now the Nigerian map now is having one color except Kwara State. So now this is clearly show that, okay, I'm in Nigeria and then I'm showing Kwara State. So now the same thing, if you are doing a presentation for your client that possibly they are not in Nigeria, and then you want to show a location of a particular site, or possibly in terms of mining site mostly, that's how you want to show one location of a mining site. First of all, because that is when the international organizations are actually involved. Now you talk about, first of all, you just show the Nigeria map like this, and then you show the Kwara State. So now they know, okay, when you come to Nigeria, you locate the Kwara State. And then within the Kwara State, now you can now have the local government boundaries. Okay, if you remember from the grade 3, we have local government boundaries. We even have up to ward boundaries, right? So you can download that and then put them inside this Kwara State, and then actually indicate that local government that you want, or that project is located, and if possibly to the ward that the project is located. So if you produce those maps and send it to your client, you understand, they can now see how they can locate that properties from where they are, you understand. So this is how you manipulate, or you actually work with your data. Okay, different data. Okay, now let's go back and then load the other data that we have. I'll just rush and then load the building in or the government building in Nigeria, and then we load the other one. So the building in Nigeria is the same approach. Okay, all the building in Nigeria is the same approach because we downloaded it as shapefile. But the other one that we download as JSON, that is the one we download from Grid Nigeria. Is download is just in JSON because it not asks us which file format we have to download it, right? So now I'll go to my download again. That is my desktop, where I don't know if you are seeing it. Okay, so now I'll extract that government building.
Come again, sir. Come again, sir.
Sir? Hello? Are you hearing me?
Hello?
Yes, sir.
Yes, I'm hearing you.
Are you seeing my screen?
Yes, I say, please. Yes, I'm seeing your screen. Okay. Continue, sir.
Okay. I'm trying
Continue
to
from,
explain.
I think from the Quara, you say if you want to download.
I've worked with the Kwara data. What I want to load now, I want to load the building facilities. The building, the
Yes, sir.
government
Yes, sir.
buildings, the government building. Are you seeing my screen?
Yes, I'm seeing.
The government building.
I'm seeing your screen where you have. No, I have not. No, I can't see government building. It's just Quara State I'm seeing.
Okay. Let me share that. Okay, you are seeing it now, right? You are seeing it now, right?
Yes.
Okay, so now we want to load this government building now, and I just extracted it the same way that I extract the first one, where I right click and then click extract here. Okay, that's what you do to actually have it here, because when we downloaded it, it was zipped folder. So now I'll go back to my QGIS now and load it. Or look at it another approach again. Another approach that I want you to see is just that, okay, let me not use that method. I will explain that, because we might not see one screen. For example, now, if you click on this, on the SHP, the one that is SHP, you click on it and hold it down, and then drag, and then take it to your QGIS and just drop it on your QGIS. It will still load it. Now, if I share my screen on QGIS now, you see it. Are you seeing it on QGIS? You are seeing point now on QGIS, right? I see my QGIS environment.
Yes.
Okay. So now another approach of loading your shapefile data to QGIS environment, if you don't want to follow this process of going through layer, add layer, you can just click on the shapefile, that is the SHP, click, drag and drop on your environment like this. It will actually open. Okay. So that is another way of loading it. So now you can see we have our different government buildings in Nigeria. Okay. So we have more, like there are some states that we don't have any government building based on their data share. But this is what we have here. All right. So there are some states that have more government buildings. Okay. But this, as I said, the data can be checked. Okay. So that you are sure of what you are doing, so that you not just go and produce the data and then to be as if you don't actually know what you are doing. So make sure you cross-check your data anytime you download the data. Okay, so this is how you load your shapefile data. Okay, your download data. So I'll go back and then extract the health facility. So now if you want to load that particular one that is JSON now, okay, that is in JSON file format now. It's no longer, if I share my screen, let me share that. If you look at it now, if you look at this, the first two file that I extract, you see that they come .shp, right, which is shapefile. But if you look at this healthcare facility that we download from Nigeria grade 3, you see that it comes with .geodesic, right? .geodesic. This is the file format that it comes with, right? So now I'll go back to QGIS and show you how we can load it. QGIS. All right, now this is QGIS. So now I'll go to my layer, add vector layer, and then I'll browse to the location. And then you see we have our GeoJSON here, right? If you look at it. Now, the reason why you are seeing it is because your file is showing all. You understand? If you put it, possibly if your file is showing only X-ray shapefile, that is SHP, let's assume your file is showing that. You see that all the data are not there except the two data that is showing .shp. So mind you, in case you are not seeing a particular data that you want to load, check your file, your file export and check if it is showing all. All right. So I'll put it all and then I'll select healthcare GeoJSON, right? So I'll click open and then I'll click add. And then you see we have this healthcare here in Niger State. Remember, we download only in Niger State. So now you can also open and see the attribute information. Okay, so if I right click now on the healthcare, I right click and then open attribute table, it will open. So let me share the attribute table. Okay, so you can see this is the attribute table of that. It's showing based on the fact that it's a point. That's why you see we're having longitude and latitude. We have contact phone number, which there's no any information there. Then we have the primary health. Okay, you can expand it to see primary health care center. Okay, we have other information, the name of the healthcare, right? Hakia Primary Health, Komala Primary Health. So if you are familiar with Niger State, you might know any of these hospital that we are calling, and then there is primary, the functional is, yeah, you look at functional, that is telling you that, let's say the status of that. I told you about maybe when we are talking about building, we talk about the status of the facilities yesterday. You see that this one is showing that functional, like this one, they say the person that produces data say is unknown. That doesn't know if it is functional or not. And then all these ones are functional. So we have functionals and unknown. Possibly you see the one that are unfunction or not existing again or something. Okay, so all those things, you see the kind of attribute information that you have here. That's what I said yesterday. You can create as much as you want attribute information. For example, we just have a point, loading a point, and then we have all this information attached to that point, the coordinate, the name of the healthcare, if the healthcare center is functioning or not. Okay, so this is different ways on how you can actually load your GIS, and then open the attribute informations. Okay, I'll go back to my QGIS. I believe everybody is following. I believe everybody is following, right? Okay, so with this, we have actually learned how we can load our data. Okay, download our data from different source and then actually load it to QGIS environment. Okay, now in our next section, course topics or modules, we are going to look at how we can load the raster. You understand? Now, there are different ways on how you can load your raster data, right? So now we are through with this. So what I'm doing now, instead of removing it, instead of opening a new page, I can just off it by clicking on this and then off. Or another option is that possibly if you don't want it again, you can just click. For example, I don't want this Quora again. I can just click on it and then click on this button here, remove layer. Or you can right click and then click on remove layer. You see it here? You can click on remove layer. You understand? And then you remove your layer. Okay. So if you don't want to remove the, possibly you want to use them again, you can just off it like this. Okay. So this is how you actually manage your data. And then we talk about the browse and layer. This is browse where you can download your satellite image. So I can click on this and under my SYZ tiles, I can drag my satellite Google map and drop it here, and then it also opened. And then I go to my browse. You see that the data are not showing because this Google map is covering all this data. Although the data are off, but even when I on it, it still not show because it covers. You see the name is showing, but the data are not showing, right? But if you want it to show, you just click on this Google map and drag and drop here. Okay, so if you drag it and drop, you see, so that it will be under it. So now I told you that GIS data are placed layer by layer, so you understand. So you see all of them here. So if I off this Nigeria map, let's assume I zoom to these facilities now, these healthcare facilities, you actually see if they are, this, for example, these are healthcare facilities here. Possibly at the point of capturing this image, possibly there's a smoke activities going on here or the cloud activities going on. That's why I see this place was not clear. So let's go to another point. You see, we are seeing this point on this particular facility. So possibly this is one hospital that is here. So you see the point on top of this building. Okay, so now this is what you actually do to show all the facilities, all the hospitals, or at the same time, all your projects or construction project you have in different locations in Nigeria. Okay, so having said that, I think we are almost elapsed our second section. Okay, if there is any question, because our next section will be talking about raster, how we load raster. We have learned how we load our vectors and all that, how we can download data from online and then load it. So in the next section, we are going to learn how we can load rasters, different rasters. Okay. So is there any question, any confusion?